right. So now we're being recorded now, guys. So everybody has to be good. So we only have 2 experienced agents on today, Terry. So we have a lot of newbies. So I'm kind of doing a mix.
Okay.
So, and
Yep.
somebody just, Heidi left. Okay. So I went across the tabs across top, how to create a new app file, 3 different places. Going down this side, print blank forms. The whole forms bank of all the Florida legal forms are in the forms bank. Okay. So if you were to have to come in and say you had to print a lead-based paint because you got to run out the door and get your customer to do a wet signature on it, you can go right in here and just search. Now I tell everybody less is best. Lead-based paint. If you are doing a FAR/BAR listing agreement or a FAR/BAR contract agreement, you must use the FAR/BAR addendums. Okay, I see a lot of this lately, but you cannot use a crisp addendum with a FAR/BAR contract or a FAR/BAR listing. So they're not meant to go together. So again, if you're using the Florida legal FAR/BAR listing agreement contract, make sure you're using the FAR/BAR addendums with it. But you could just say you're looking for the lead-based paint. When it comes up, it's right here. You can free type in here the information you want, or you can just print or download. They both do the same. If you do print or download, it's going to just download it as a PDF, and then you just print it. So that's all it does. But you can fill it out on that screen and print it for wet signature. But all the forms are in there, all the company in-house forms. If you look, everything's in there. I always tell everybody search less is best. If you're looking for a homeowners association, if you type in HOA, it's not necessarily going to come up. I always say put in home. And you'll see it'll bring up the homeowners association. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that if you ever had to just print a blank form. Upload files, scan files, make an update. Anytime you want to upload or scan a document, I recommend you do it within the app file. It's just easier that way. If you do it from here, it's going to ask you what app file, destination app file. So if you do it within your app file, it's always going to be in the app file that you're requesting or uploading the files to. Make an update is the same as here. When you see recent activity, you can create an update. So if you wanted to put in a permanent update on the app file, or if you wanted to send an update to your manager or your ASC, you could create an update and tag your manager. I can show you that once we get into an app file. I'm going to check the chat for a minute. I practice and preach that because I have 2 offices, Tom, that don't do it, and their manager tells them they don't have to. So that's something I've been stressing seriously in my classes. So thank you. I'm glad you bring that up. Again, you can do a new task. Same thing, create a task. And then down here, your app files. You won't have a global search. I do, so I have 7 offices that I can search through. But your local search, you can search. Say you can't remember what you named an app file. Say you have 150 app files and you're looking for one from 2 years ago. You can do your local search. You can search by, you can filter results. There's nothing there, but say you're looking for, I'm always looking for my training files. But if you do your training, it's going to bring up every file that has that word in there. And then you can sort them by date. So that's pretty much all that is a search. View all. This is me at the office level. And again, your signature request, and then your trash files, like your test files that you might create. Agent workspace tells you how many buyer files you have in your app files, how many seller files. You should not be doing tenants, landlords. If we're doing residential sales, you really shouldn't have any of those files. And then your current files are, this is me at an office level, but current files, how many of you have current active listings and how many pendings you have that are on the books. Okay, and the rest of this down here you won't necessarily see. You will see your currently closed files. Okay, and any closed files you had in prior years. Again, this is your task list. This shows up on your home screen every day. And then the recent activity, again, that's like I said, is everything that's been done. And that's just showing recently. If you did a view all, it'll go through, and I have who knows how many, 2,949 pages. But it's, again, this is an office level, but it's everything that every agent, the manager, the ASC has done in the file. In your files will be everything you do, anything the manager might do on your file, anything accounting might do on your file. So that's all going to be recorded there, and that is permanent to the app file. That will always be there. All right, and then down the, I'm moving you guys out of the way again. Down the right side again is your recently new app files. Okay, I'm going to check the chat again. They create. Well, the closed file tabs are created by the system by management. So as we get close to the end of 2021, as before we roll over to 2021, they will create a 2022 closed file, but that is not something ASC's managers do. It's done by the powers that be, like maybe the head of accounting or something will do that. So we don't create, tabs for different types of files like that, like closed files, pendings, actives.
Yeah, they were just, hey, Kathy, it's Rose. Good morning.
Hi, Rose.
Yeah, they were just curious, because everything just shows there, in front of them. I guess that was their questions.
Okay, it shows where? Over here or in the
here,
middle?
in the middle, where they list. I know it's over on the side here.
Well, over here you have your list, your pendings and your listings. Again,
correct.
ASCs are going to see more of this than the agents will.
Right.
Because if they weren't hired till 2020, they're only going to see their 2020 closed. They're not going to see office levels. ASCs will see more in prior years. And you guys are new this year? No, you were like middle of last year. So you guys would have as an ASC like a 2020 closed and a 2021.
Okay, sounds good.
And then again, you can always minimize them so you're not looking at how many or anything. Okay. Does that answer your question, Rose?
That's good. That'll be good. I'll get them with that one. No worries. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm not understanding your question or if it's something we can do maybe at the end of class.
We can do it later. We can chat later.
Okay. Thank you, Rose. Okay. So again, I was going through your activity. Now, when you're creating a new app file, it's like I tell Tom, I've been really preaching this and I've been trying to get the managers on board and backing this up. I create an app file, like I said, you can create one here, here, or here. When you create your new app file, okay, when you click it, you got to name your app file. Your app file is always the name of the property. Now, I'll touch base on that in a minute after I get further into this. And if it's a house, we need the house number, the street, the city, the state, and the zip. Because in the state of Florida, we have West Coast and two East Coast regions. That if we get audited by the brand or an accountant, we need to be able to specify locations and areas. If you just put in 1231 Beach, okay, is that Jacksonville? Is this Florida? East Coast, West Coast. We just need them, the more you put in for the file name is the address. Be just like your file folder. It would be the address of the property. So I'm just going to pick one. I have so many training files, it's not even funny. So as you see, it says it was required. Once you met the requirements, it'll go to green. Next time is your file type. Is this a buyer file or a seller file? Okay, the newer agents on here, which do you want to do, a buyer file or a seller file? And right now I know we're working with a lot of buyers and maybe not so much with sellers, but
buyer would be helpful, right?
Okay.
Everybody agree?
All right, so we're going to do a buyer file. Okay, now if you're working with a buyer and you're putting in multiple offers, you can call the app file, name the app file by your buyer's name. That will keep you from creating 5, 6, 7, 8 different app files for the same buyer. Because right now, a lot of your buyers, you're putting offers in on 3, 4, 5 different properties before you get one that sticks. So I normally don't like to recommend it, but with the market the way it is right now, you can name your file name Jim and Kathy Cripp. And once you get a contract that gets fully executed and accepted by a seller, then you can change the file to the address of the property that the contract is executed on. Okay? Because I know that's going to come up in class here sooner or later. So once you've choose your file type. Your buyer's file type paperwork. See, it's required. Are we doing a single family home with an HOA, pre-78, FHA, condo, or vacant land? What this does is loads the checklist of the requirements of the documents required for compliance, depending on what you choose. Because an HOA, we would need the homeowners association. Pre-78, we need the lead-based paint. If your buyer is FHA or VA, we also would need that addendum. And condo is going to add like the condo rider forms and things like that to it and the requirements. So since we work a buyer file, most of the time normally your HOA and your lead-based paint should be coming from the listing agent because they should already have it in their files with the seller's already has it filled out. But we would need that document in the file signed by your buyer as well. So we can just pick one. We'll pick one with a HOA. You can put in your name there if you want. It will always be your file. It will be assigned to you. I'm just using what I always use. Buyer's name. Okay, at this point, you probably don't have your closing date because you're just now getting your paperwork together to get your buyers to sign. If you have an MLS number, please put it in there. I'd have to look at my MLS to put one in there. Referral type, excuse me. Only put a referral type if it's an actual referral. If it's a Rocket Mortgage or a Redfin referral, put it in as an inbound referral. Okay, do not type a referral in there if it's not an actual referral. Because occasionally they will run reports to see what we have for referrals coming in and out. And if they're tagged and they're not true referrals, then it's skewing the numbers on the reports they're running. Okay, and then at this point, if you do have a seller's name, you can put it in there, but we are representing the buyer in this case. Notes, any notes you want to put in there to remind yourself of anything. You might see notes from your manager, and you might see notes from your ASC. Okay, so I always tell everybody, don't delete notes that you didn't put in there, but feel free to put in a note of something you want to remember every time you're in the file. You don't have to put anything in there. And then you just scroll down and next. Okay, and then this one is the users. Everybody down the right side are managers, ASCs, accountants. You cannot remove any of those. Down the left side are all the agents that are in your office. So if you work with somebody as a team, even though you're not like a team, but you work with another agent on your file, you can add them right now so they can have access to your file. If not, you just want to skip through it and go to the bottom and create your app file. Okay, so there's your app file. Looks just like a file folder. You have your address here, your address here. So say you did, yes.
Can I just add something on that? Another way to think about that team thing is, say you're going on vacation and you're asking somebody to take care of it for you. Just that you're allowing other people in there.
Yes. And if you can add them at any time. So again, like if Tom's going to go over to Europe for 2 weeks and he's going to ask Becky to cover his files, he can add at any time, add somebody to the file. And then when he comes back, he can take them back out. If you want, your ASC can do it for you as well. And so can your sales manager. But just remember, if you add somebody, they have full access to your app files until you remove them. So again, you have your address. Say you want to change it to your buyer's name because you're like, this contract fell through and Kathy said I could use this file. Just click on your blue edit button, change the address, and then save your changes or change it to your buyer's name. Just remember, if you are working with a buyer and you choose to name the buyer, the file, the buyer's name, every contract that you submit needs to be in this app file. If it was signed by your buyer, we need to keep a copy of that. So If you've submitted an offer on Annapolis Road and it was rejected, and you did one on Caddy Road and it was rejected, they all need to be left in the app file and saved. It's a CYA. That way a buyer can't come back and say, well, Kathy never submitted my offer on Caddy Road. Well, if you're doing everything through Appfiles like you're supposed to, it's going to document that you sent it out for them to sign. You sent it to the listing agent. All that's going to be documented in this file. So anything that you do on the file needs to be done in Appfiles. Okay. All right. So again, anything you want to change, you see the blue edit buttons. If you wanted to change, the buyer's name, or you did finally get an MLS number, you just click on your little blue buttons and save. Again, down the side, this is the checklist that was loaded when we chose this buyer's side checklist with the HOA. All of these forms that are in gray are required for compliance by the company for the file. Again, your file access users, then you have your tasks, which I'll work a little bit with that as we're working the file. And this is where you can, like I said, create an update that you want. Maybe you want your manager to know, hey, I talked to the buyer and blah, 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 blah. You can create an update, tag just the manager. It will let her know that you've tagged her to follow up, him or her, follow up on an update on the file. And that will be permanent to the file. Okay, and then over here, this is my favorite part and what Tom was talking about. You can, not this part, but you can upload a photo of the property. I don't recommend you upload all of your professional photographs in here because this is really more the file system for the brokerage. But if somebody sent you a picture of a document, when you upload it, it's going to go into this section. Okay. So you can compose an email from here. Please don't copy this app file. I don't even know if you as agents have that option. And don't delete an app file. If it doesn't delete it, it puts it in a holding place in that trash spot. I don't think agents have that option anymore either, but add a web link. This was new. It was added about 7-8 months ago. You could add like the web link to the property appraiser's report or something on the property. All you would do is add that, copy and paste your web link, create the link, and it will always be there until you delete it. I'm not sure. I've seen some agents use it just for, like you say, the tax record or the property appraiser. But if there's a reason that you need a web link, you can put it in there. Okay, file information. This is the big boy we're talking about, okay? It is very, very, very important that you fill this out to the best of your ability. What this is going to contain all the information on your buyer, information on the property. The more information that you put in here, the more it imports into your documents and is part of the file with phone numbers and email addresses and all that. I recommend and strongly encourage that you use it. So we are working on a buyer file. So you could just come down and go to your master buyer template, but anywhere you see the blue buttons, if you were to click on the escrow agent, it's only going to bring up just that section. Okay. Sorry, I got to keep moving you again. But if you were to click on that section and go, oh, I didn't want escrow agent, look down the side, here's your master buyer template. You just click on it, and this overwhelms, and this does take time to fill this out. But that 15 or 20 minutes that you spend filling it out is going to be worth it tenfold when you're not typing all that information into every single individual form that you have to fill out. Okay. Do you have any questions so far in any of that? Now, I'm not going to go through and fill in every single line item on this, because if I do, it'll take 20 minutes of class. But your buyer's name.
Kathy, can I say one comment on
Absolutely.
this? To be careful. If you fill this out, you can use it to put into the other categories like escrow agent, things like that, import the info into there.
Yes.
But if you have a change and you change it just in the master file, the others will not change unless you go back and import it.
Correct.
So I ran into a case where I forgot to take the title company out where one had fallen through, and then I had the wrong information. So
Right.
you just have to be careful of that.
And that's a very good point, especially if you're using, like you said, if you're using the file for a buyer right now and this buyer's name, that anytime you change property, you would have to change everything in this template each time, which is that's the only pain with doing it, setting it up under the buyer's name if you're sending out multiple offers. Your buyer name, however many, if there's 3 or 4 or 5, you can put them all in here. Okay, but you need to designate who's going to be buyer 1 and who's going to be buyer 2. So up here, it's the buyer's name will pull Jim and Kathy Kripp or Jim Kripp and Kathy Kripp, depending on how you put it. But we're going to designate that Jim Kripp on all of our documents is going to be buyer 1. Okay, and you can tab through each of these fields. Okay, buyer tax ID. We do not want social security number, Fed IDs, any kind of personal identification numbers from your customers. I'm really wanting to know why we have it, and we put it on my list of see if we can get that removed. Okay, your buyer's address. If, say, the buyer is just going to buy a property that's seasonal, so they're only going to be here 3-4 months a year, put in their address from wherever they're at. That way you have both. Not just that, the ASCs after a property closes in most of the offices will send a letter to the buyer once the sale has been complete and closed. Try to get a what we call a celebrate excellence letter to get a review from the customer. So we need a good address to be able to mail those letters to. Hey, buyer's mailing address, like I said, you fill in what you need on their addresses, but your email, definitely put your email addresses in here because it will pull into the email program in Appfiles. I'm working on getting my new stuff, Terry, just so you know. I had to beg for a couple of things, but I have a keyboard that's so bad that the buttons are screwed up. Okay. Again, put any information in here for their phone numbers that you need for yourself. I always recommend you get a cell phone number. So if the manager or the broker record needs to get a hold of your buyer for any reason, and you're sick or another agent needs to step in, we have access to that information to be able to assist your customer. I'm hoping nobody's using faxes anymore. Okay, buyer 2, again, designate who's going to be signing as buyer 2 on all your forms. Again, no tax ID. In Appfiles, I know in here we had an agent said she had used DocuSign. I'm not sure about DocuSign because I never used it, but in Appfiles, Jim and Kathy can use the same email address to do signature requests. Okay, so Jim doesn't have to have his own and Kathy doesn't have to have her own. They can use the same one. It's just when you do the signature request, you have to do one first to Jim and then one to Kathy. And any of the information you need for phone numbers, cell phone. If you have an MLS number, enter it here. Subdivision. It's recommended that you copy and paste the legal information on the property from either the tax records or the property appraiser for accuracy. Most of the time it's right in the MLS, but there have been cases where there's been incorrect lot numbers or subdivisions or something that's been incorrect in the MLS. So we recommend that you copy and paste it directly from the property appraisers. So let's see. I'm just going to go into Charlotte County. My computer is slow. I'm just going to, for right now, just pick mine. And then I'll just copy and paste. One of. It says I have 1 of 0, but it won't bring me in. Isn't that funny? $264, because I got the 264 on the same one. All right. And this is Appfiles is a Windows-based program, so you can copy and paste from one screen to another back and forth. So over here, even though it says 264, I'm going to copy and paste the subdivision, which in this one is actually Rotunda. It's Oakland. Like I said, you guys have to excuse me with my keyboard. Oh my gosh. I'm just going to put Oakland Hills, year built, 1985, property address. Again, fill in your property address here because it's going to pull from this template into your forms. Okay, so I am doing 264 Annapolis. Oh my gosh, just ignore me, guys. I'm okay. And it does have a spell check, just so you know. All right, again, tab, property address county. Okay, property legal description. I'm going to again copy and paste. This is all the information that you should be putting into, into your template, because it will pull this information into the contract for the legal description and everything. Again, you just copy and paste. Real tax ID, Charlotte County. Usually it's right at the top. Every county is a little different on where it is. Okay, like I said, I'm not going to go and do everything. So we don't care about the list date, but you can put it in there. Purchase contract date at this point, because you're still working on your buyer's paperwork. You probably don't have your contract effective date. But once you do have it, you can go back into your template and enter this information at any time. Okay, effective date again, date of inspection. You can fill all this out after the fact. Closing date, we probably don't know yet. Say the sale price. You can, if you fill in a sale price on this, it's going to pull this price into your contract when you import into the forms once we get to that section. So let's just say we're going to put it in at $325. Okay, list price. You can put something, you don't have to put anything in there again, because we're doing contract paperwork. Selling broker firm, Coldwell Banker Sunstar, Premier or Paradise, whichever one you are. You can fill in the information on the brokerage, your name. I'm just going to pick my manager here. And you don't have to put your ID in there, but you can. And you can set yourself up with a master template with your information that will pull in every time. So again, selling agent, lender company name. If you have mortgage information and you want to enter that in here, the mortgage company, and you're working with the loan officer for your customer, you can enter that information in here. There's a lot of fields in there that you as an agent need. You guys need to fill in your information, okay? And you need to like I said, I'm skipping through a lot of this because I'm not going to take the time in class to do it. You should fill in your listing date. Once you have your contract date, you should go back in and fill that information in. So I don't want to say these fields should be removed, because let's just say this is your listing file and you bring the buyer. You're going to use the same file on a listing file as you are for your buyer. You're going to go back into this template now and add all your buyer information. So a lot of it it goes both ways. It goes more than one way. Well, Social Security number, that if this was a commercial one, they would want their federal tax ID number in there. So you got to remember, we do have a commercial department. So there's certain things they can't tweak it for residential, for property management, for commercial. It's kind of all grouped into one because it's one Appfiles for Coldwell Banker in Florida. So whether it's Premier, Paradise, or Sunstar, but I do get where you're going with that. So where was I? Now I forgot. Okay, if you're working with a loan officer with your buyer and you need to be able to coordinate, actually, fill in that information. Now, your initial deposit amount, again, whatever you put in here is going to pull into your contract. So let's just say the initial deposit amount is $10,000. All right. If you want to fill in the due date, that's fine. Additional deposits, say they're going to put in $2,000 additional after 10 days or so. Okay, additional deposit due date. Okay, escrow and title. Now, if the same company is going to hold escrow and do title, you can put them both in there. So I always just use Big W. They're an attorney's firm here, but it's easy. You can copy and paste them in both. So escrow agent. Okay. Big W, escrow agent name, agent company. That's the agent. I put it in the wrong spot. Say you're working with Emily, you put in, again, put in whatever information on the actual title company you want. If you put in the title company's, escrow address in here, that will import into the contract as well on the finance section. So if escrow is being held, and the title is being done by the same company, again, you can copy and paste, but let's say Big W is holding the escrow and First International is doing the closing. You can copy and paste. You can, I know a lot in Florida, a lot of times we use the same, does both escrow and title. Well, I'm not sure what you're asking, George. You want to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, I just thought, like we have the escrow deposit is due in 3 days.
Well, that's
So-
that's the default in the contract. So that all goes into the finance section of the contract.
It's just when you said initial deposit due, I didn't realize it was date. I just said 10,000 amount, and then
Yeah.
it's due like in 3 days. It hasn't been paid yet.
Well, no, this is just your template and what you want it to fill in your contract. So the finance section of your contract says defaults to 3 days on your escrow unless you put in a date that says otherwise. So if you know that information, you want to fill it in here, that's fine. But that should be something you should be manually doing in your finance section of the contract, is filling in any changes that might be on when the escrow is due. Okay.
Understand, I just didn't realize it was initial deposit due date. That's all. No problem.
You're just confusing me, George. Don't confuse me. All right, so your title company, again, escrow, if they're both the same, if they're different, fill it in. We do require on the title company that we have an email address on our transaction worksheet. So whoever's doing title, even if it's title is escrow and title are being done by the same. So we do need an email address because we do need it on, there's a reason for it, but we need an email address on it. So I'm just going to put mine for now. A lot of your title companies and then like Big W law firms have like a default email for the company, like Big W. Okay, so title company information again. Now this is all the seller information. If you have the seller's name, if you can copy and paste it from the property appraiser, it will pull it into your contract on for your sellers, or you can just manually type it, either or. You can import information into this template from the MLS listing itself, but be careful what you allow it to override. Okay. So again, we're not representing the seller, so we really don't need any more information on the seller. And then the listing broker firm is, again, you can put the listings firms, like say it was Remax Anchor, you could type in Remax and the agent you're working with and the agent you're working with phone number. So you can fill in that information, so that's right at your fingertips. Okay. Now the templates do not have a save button. So everything that you just typed, once you close that box, everything that you typed, it doesn't show you everything, but it's going to show you a lot of everything that you filled out is right here. So if you had your customers' phone numbers and everything, that would show up right here. So it's right at a glance. You click your little blue edit button, will take you back in here. At any times you can add, change, delete, make changes to anything in this template at any time, and close, and it will save. Okay. Now I know it takes time, but this is like a file folder. We need buyers' names, phone numbers. On a seller, if they're selling their property, it's real important that we have the address of where we can send things to after they sell their house. Again, so we can send them a letter or if you ever want to have contact with them after the sale of their house, it's nice for you guys to have that there for future as well. So that's just a little reminder. All right. Any other questions on the template part? Like I said, it's very time consuming, but well worth it. And we are requesting that you spend the time and do it. All right. So next, after you've filled all that out, we don't have any forms in here. Okay. So here's your checklist. On top of your checklist, you have your green Add Forms button. If you click on your Add Forms button, you can select the forms package from here. So you have, well, you won't have that buyer pack for vacant land and a buyer listing pack and a vacant land listing pack. Or if you scroll down, it's not going to let me do it. If you just scroll down, you'll have your buyer pack, vacant land, residential listing pack, and vacant land listing pack. So right now we're doing a residential buyer, but it's just called a buyer pack. And these are all the forms that are required for compliance for the file. So you can add them one by one, or you can select them all. And what it does is it moves them over here. And once they're here, they're going to select this to merge into your app file. Now, at this point, if you had you can at this point, if say you have your buyer is going to be VA, well, we need that FHA VA form. You can add that form into this list. Okay. And search it. FLEP is best, and you want to make sure because we're using the FAR-BAR. The FAR-BAR contract defaults in all of our packages. Okay, we don't use the CRISP addendums and forms. So our as-is contract that's in here is the FAR-BAR. So we would have to add the FHA VA. You just click on it, and it adds it over here to your forms. Okay, so if you had, let's say you're related to your buyer, we would need the licensee's disclosure of personal interest added also. You must disclose, and we like to have that form on file. So again, you could search for licensee's disclosure of personal interest, any documents that you want to add ahead of time that you know you need to have. I recommend you add them from here, but you can always add them in once you're in the app file. So I'm going to get rid of these for now. All you do if you add a form by mistake, you just click on the red and it takes them back out. So now that we have all our forms here, I recommend you keep them grouped together. Once you click add, it adds them all and they're grouped together in group pages of 5, and all 31 pages are here. This is all the in-house disclosures, the contract, the home warranty, I think is 11 pages. So when you see the number, everybody's like, oh my gosh. But if you got 12 pages of contract with 11 pages of home warranty, that's a big chunk of your numbers. But it loads them all in, and I call it the train, one by one, all in order, okay? Your transaction worksheet. Very important day. Remember. Okay, this is how you get paid. And we need the information from an ASC standpoint to enter this information into our accounting system so when your property does close, you get paid. So that's always like the leading form. So good. Now I got people on that can pick on me. Tom's having fun. Anyways, so your transaction worksheet, they're all in here, grouped in pages of 5. The numbers are at the top. They're also at the bottom. You can rearrange your forms in any order you want. Are you plugged in on your headset, Jeannie? How come that off? I would unplug it and replug it back in. Okay. Again, once your forms load, you can import everything that you typed into your file info section into these forms. This is why I have, recommend you, and we really do want you to fill in that template. If you click, excuse me, across the top, and you see there's a yellow import values button. If you click on the import values, there's 3 options to choose. Now, you need to make sure you're reading them if you're looking to do different things. If you're import from a form, you must have a form already in the app file that's completed that has matching fields. Well, right now we have nothing in there. Import from your info fields is your file information or your template that we filled in. And then you can import from MLS. And I know over in Paradise them you have different MLS, so mine defaults to Stellar because that's our MLS. But we're going to import from the info fields, which is the template that we filled out. It's telling you they have 2 values from here and 17 from the template. So it's going to pull in a total of 19 values into that whole train of forms. Okay, it's going to pull in the list price, going to pull in the agent, it's going to seller's name, buyer's name. See, we got the same name on buyer and seller. That's pretty good, huh? Okay, title company, it's going to pull in the purchase price, the deposit amount. So it's pulling all this information into your forms. If there is something here that you do not want imported, say you made a mistake, and there's something here that you go, oh, and you see it now, that you don't want it to pull the seller's name in, or you have the wrong buyers, if you just uncheck it, it will not import into, okay? But I'm gonna go ahead and then you just click Start Import. And then Done. And you'll see it started filling in this side, the list price, your buyer and your seller, filled in the title company, the email. Okay, so it filled a lot of that information in already, so you don't have to do it. Okay, you can import also from the MLS. I don't have an MLS number, but if I do, it's going to skew all the numbers. I can just pick a number. Let's see what we get. Nope, I can't even get one. All right, but you can import from the MLS. So if you had your MLS number, you enter it. Wish I had my MLS open because I could just pull one. Does anybody have one they can give me real quick? Heidi or Randy? I just want to show them.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
C 743-5814.
Right, so it's telling you that if that is the correct one, you want to choose. Okay, so in this instance, because I already have values filled out in the contract from my template, okay, then I don't want this to confuse you. I want to show it to you. So everything that you entered in your template that you already pulled in is here in the middle. And what's on the MLS is what's here, okay? So don't, like I said, don't let it confuse you. We don't want the purchase price to change, okay? So anything that we're importing in, we don't want to change. So I'm just for right now going to do this. Oh, Carla Nick's no list. Property address, but again, anything that's coming in from the MLS is going to match a little better, okay? But anything you don't want to import, it won't pull in. But that's all you do is when you do the import values, it'll show you what you have now and what it wants to replace, what differences. I would just be careful with the legal address. I mean, on this one, I don't want to change it. This is what I have. I don't want it replaced with this. And in some things, you'll see, like I spelled Charlotte wrong or something. It's saying, you know, what's in red is there and what's over here is going to replace what on your forms, what you've done. Okay? But that's basically all that does. I'm not going to import anything, but it just wanted to show you how it works. So again, if you get to this point and there's mistakes, just close it. It's not going to do anything. All right, transaction worksheet. Terry, I need to figure out why it's not pulling in the street addresses and stuff. Used to do it, and now it's not doing it at all. What's wrong? Anyways, again, I'm not going to get all technical on this, but I'm just filling in stuff. Okay, with your transaction worksheet, like, you know, beat it in enough as I want. Whichever side you are representing, if you're representing the seller, fill in as much information in this listing section as you can. Okay, list price, the list date, let's just say it's 10/09/2021. Again, it will import in if you filled that information. Source of your seller and or source of your buyer is a required field. I'm really pushing my ASCs here in Sunstar to start rejecting transaction worksheets for that. It is a required field in our accounting department. So we have to have something to report to the company on what your source of seller and or buyer is. Sphere of influence, personal referral, open house, yard sign, wherever they called you from, or you've got that, where you got your seller from, it was floor call, anything.
Opposite.
That's a company referral. Something like that's always a company referral, and then they fill in the information down here. So anyways, yes, but you're right. Whatever the referral, if it's Redfin or some of our referral companies, I can't remember our other one, Prime. Commissions, 3%, 2%, 2.5%. It's a vacant lot. Say it's not a percent, and it's a whole dollar amount. Say it's $1,000 full commission on a vacant lot. Fill in the percents or fill in the commission amount. Your broker fees. Sunstar, I'm not sure about Paradise and Premier. All listing fees are $295 except for vacant lots. So it's $295 on a residential sale. We need to know who's paying it. Is your seller paying it? Are you paying it? Okay, there should be no waive on that unless your managers approved it to be waived. Same thing with buyer, commission percent or a dollar amount. And then your broker fee, all buyers under Sunstar, again, I don't know about Paradise Premier, is $99. And again, who's paying it? Buyer, you. I always tell everybody, everybody will tell me VAs are automatically waived. That's not true. I've seen them come through where they have been paid. So my thing is, if you can get it in there and VA doesn't catch it, they'll pay the $99 broker fee. If VA will not pay it, it is an automatic waive. But do not assume it's waived. I've seen them come through on FHA and VA. So other than that, I just like to point that out because we're really going to start, and this is Sunstar speaking specifically, cracking down on these transaction worksheets and how incomplete they are. I have an office that if we're representing the seller, they never fill out the buyer information ever. I would say 9 out of 10 they only fill out their side. But we have to have all of this in order for you guys to get paid when it closes. So you guys that new or over in Premier, Rose and all of them are going to thank me for telling you all this. So again, it fills in your print names. Not all of the forms in the in-house forms are pulling. You can type them in here, but as long as we have a signature with a date, I'm not going to poke and kick it back to you if you forgot to put the print name in here. And for whatever reason, all of our in-house forms, they can't program it on every form. I don't know why, but I'm not an IT person. So I'm just going to scroll through 6 to 10. Of course, we have, I think it's 11 or 12 pages to the warranty. Even if your buyer says they don't want it, we recommend you send it to them. Let them look at it. Let them read it. Okay? They just might say, I don't want it. Well, you can also use it as a negotiation when it comes up to closing. Say stuff shows up in the inspection. You can get the seller to buy one, It's always good to have it in there. And also so your buyer can see it and what it affords and what it offers. Okay? And it will fill it out, and they fill it out. And then if they want it, they can sign it. If they don't want it, only one of your buyers has to reject it. If they want to buy it, both buyers have to sign, just so you know that. All right, and for whatever reason, our as-is contract's all the way at the bottom, but it filled in. Oh, I didn't put the sellers in the right. Oh, I deleted it. That's why. So we'll just put, I'm going to pick on Terry again. She's going to yell at me because I'm not spelling her name right. Okay. So your sellers, it pulled the legal information from the template. Okay. You get down to your finance again. I'm not licensed. I'm not going to tell you how to fill in a contract. I am going to point at some things and as a reminder kind of thing. when you get into your as-is contract and you're using the auto balance, be very careful with your finance section, okay? Everything that I typed into the template pulled in, the purchase price, the initial deposit, the extra deposit, and it brings you to your total. Okay, if you wanted to change, say you want to leave the purchase price, you have to start at the top and tab through each field. So say we want to change the first deposit. You have to start at your top, tab through. Say we only want it to be 6,000. You still need to tab through and make your changes. If you made a mistake, shift and tab back up. If you click down here and change it and then go back, it's going to lose the auto calculate. It's programmed to calculate each one of these fields as you go through them. So if you start here and click here and then go, well, it's not auto calculating anymore. No. Once you've done that, you've locked the finance, the auto balance, it's never going to auto balance again. So if there's anything within this whole finance section that you want to change, start at the top, tab. We're going to change it back to 10,000. Tab, okay. Again, tab, even if you're not changing anything. All right, so we're going to get to the finance section. This form is programmed for a dollar amount, not a percent. If you put in 80, it's going to calculate that as $80. So if they're financing 80%, it must be a dollar amount. So we're just going to take a guess. We're just going to say 285. That's how much is being financed. Tab, tab, tab. Say something changes, you can shift and tab back up. But if something's not right and you have to start over again while you're still in here. Before any signatures, initials, or anything on this form, you can edit this field while you still have it in its editable function. Once you get a set of initials or anything on there, it locks the forms. So this can never be changed once it's been initialed or signed. So while you're creating it again, say you're in the middle of fixing it and your buyer calls and goes, I want to offer $10,000 more. You still can close this form, go back in there, as long as you've not messed around and clicked around, and start at the top and change your purchase price up to $333 and tab through it. It's not going to lock you up. But once you click out or somebody signs it or initials it, then it's locked. Okay? We have a lot of people that struggle with that, and most of the time it is operator. I always say loose nut on the handle instead of operator malfunction. But you can't come here and type in your title company and then come back up here and want to change because you went out of sequence. Now it's confused the program on the auto balance features. Okay. So as you're tabbing through, add your title, your escrow agent, I'm sorry. So other than that, I'm just going to scroll through. The one thing on the, remind you on the contract, any addendums that need to go with it, FHA, VA, say your buyers, say the listing agent had the HOA and the lead-based paint on the listing agreement, you pulled them in off of MLS, had your buyers sign them to submit, smart idea, do it all that way. But you need to make sure that any addenda that are going with, that you're checking them under the additional addendums on page 11. So if you're submitting an FHA VA addendum, you need to check it. If it's got a homeowners association and your buyers, are signing the one that's been provided to you, you need to check it. Same thing with lead-based paint, any of these disclosures. And then additional terms, be careful what you put in there. If you're not sure what's allowed or not allowed, check with your sales manager. Especially if there's a mortgage company involved, they don't want to know that you're buying the house and the boat and the with the house. The mortgage companies don't want that in there. That would have to be on a separate addenda. Okay. Any questions? The EPA, energy efficiency. This does not need to be signed, but by state law, we are required to provide this to your customer. With you sending this to them via signature request or even in an email, that's our proof that we provided this brochure to them. So if you want them to sign it, you can add initial boxes or sign box, but that does not need to be signed. We just have show proof that we provided it to them. Okay, I'm going to go back to the first. Any questions on that part so far? Again, you can free type on these forms if you see something you want changed. And everything that we just did and imported, there is no save function. When you close that box, everything that I just did is going to save. And you'll see down here in general paperwork, transaction worksheet, that's the leading form in the train. So that's what it's going to call it. Again, there's everything and everything we filled in. Right, across the top of your forms package, I'll explain some of the buttons. Print and download, again, are the same things. It will download as a PDF for you to print. Okay, lock, you probably don't have that function. Submit is a very important button, and I really like to, same thing with filling out the template. When you have your paperwork signed and sent back, and the other agent seller has accepted the offer, and they put it pending in the MLS, as soon as you have an executed contract or any of your documents that are signed and completed and ready for the checklist, you need to submit them. This notifies your ASC that there's documents there that need to be reviewed for compliance. So if you click on your submit, you can submit them to any placeholder. If they're all still grouped together, just submit them to the word checklist. So if you have we don't care if you split them all out. If you have 10 documents in one train, submit them to the checklist. Okay, we as ASCs can split them out lickety split versus you going, okay, 1, 2, you sitting there for 10 or 15 minutes splitting them out. I mean, to me, it's easy enough for us to do. We do this all day long. We can do it in probably a 16th of the time it takes you guys to sit and split and spend your time doing stuff we can do very quickly. So if it was just, say you were just submitting the standard disclosure, you could submit it to its placeholder. All you do is when you click that submit the spot where it's supposed to go. What it does is that notifies, sends an email to your ASC that, hey, there's something in the file that needs to be reviewed. And once the ASC reviews your file for compliance and the documents are all in the checklist, then it goes to the manager to review. So your sales manager will review it, and if they're not happy with something or they're seeing something that needs to be changed, or they will reject it back to you or ask any questions back to you. So there's 2 lines of compliance. Your ASC is your first, and then the sales manager. So actions, in the actions, a lot of these functions are on the top. Your print, download, rename, copy. We'll go into some of those. Okay. You have an edit fields and an edit pages tab. The tab that you are in is blue. If I click on the edit pages, it separates your pages into its own category for each form. And then you have split forms. You can do split forms from here or your actions. Again, the import values, we've already went through. Imports you can from the different sources. And send via email. If all of this paperwork was filled out and you just wanted to send a copy to your buyer, you could send it right from here and it will attach it in an email to your buyer. Okay. Now, so everything that's in this train, let's say we're ready to send it to your buyer to sign. But everything that's in here, we're really technically only one form needs to be pulled out and not sent. Your transaction worksheet does not need to go to your buyer. That is an in-house form. It's an important form, but it's not something your buyer needs to see. They don't need to sign it. There's nothing they need to do with it. So we want to split this transaction worksheet off. Again, you can do split forms from here, from your actions, or from your edit pages. Either way. Your blue split forms. When you click on the split forms, you're splitting out what you want to split away from your package. We don't want the transaction worksheet to go to your buyer. So we're going to click it and we're going to let it just go to general paperwork, which is just a holding section in your checklist. Okay, we want standard disclosure, wireframe. All of this has to be signed or sent to your buyer. So we're going to split that form off It's telling you it's split one form. Now you see the standard, the first form, we're in page number 1, changed it from transaction worksheet to now the leading form, which is standard disclosure. What you can do, and I recommend, because if you start splitting off forms and you get more forms in, you're going to start getting confused. Across the top, next to the title is a little blue pencil. Let's just name it our contract package, whatever you want to name it, so you remember what it is. Okay, so this is our buyer's contract package. You either, after you rename it, you either have to hit enter or the little green check mark, or it will not save. The reason I recommend you name it, you can put your buyer's, CRIP contract, whatever you want to name it. Because you're going to rearrange the forms again. Because when you're sending them out to your customer, my advice is put your contract first. At the top is the leading form, and then all the disclosures underneath. That way they see the contract, and before they start signing everything, you got to make changes, and it's just easier. That's my recommendation. But you can change your form order. You go to your edit pages, change form order, and you drag and drop them. We're going to put the as-is contract at the top. And what I'm going to do at this point, your home inspection disclosure right now is all the way at the bottom. Your buyer must check a box on this form before they sign the form. You, as an agent, cannot check that form box for the customer. And believe me, we know if you have or you haven't, so please don't do it. We never should check boxes for a customer, because then it's coming back on us. But when we send it out for signature requests, because it requires a box to be checked, if they sign it first, they can't check a box. So then you got to resend them the form separately. So maybe put that all the way at the top. And when you send the signature request out, we'll say, hey, can you please check a box on the home inspection before you sign it? Okay, so I'm going to put the home inspection as is, and then the rest is kind of all just falls into place. And you can put them in any order you want. But once you change your order, save your changes. You go back to your edit fields, you'll see your home inspection is first, and then your as-is contract. So I recommend naming it something, because if you're changing order and the leading form still says standard disclosure, you're going to go, well, where's my contract? Well, it's in that mix somewhere, but if you don't remember, you're going to look all over for it. That way, if you name it something, you know that everything's together. Okay, again, you close it. Everything we did is there. Everything we split off, general paperwork, is a holding section. There's your transaction worksheet, and there's your contract package that you're going to send to your buyers to sign. So I'm going to open it back up again, and we're going to send it now. I'm going to send it to me so I can let you guys see what your customers see. So when you open it back right in the middle, you have a request signature. Tells you if you're doing one party, two party, and if you have a third. We're going to start a signature request. Signer's full name, we're going to pick Jim again, as he's going to be buyer 1 to sign. Leave the default, allowing the sellers and the customer. And then you'll see each of the forms is broke down. So on the home inspection, we want buyer. And you'll see on every form that is programmed the same, it will default check the buyer on your contract, on your standard disclosure. Wire fraud is called customer, so we want to make sure we check customer. And the home warranty is buyer's signature, but if they want to waive it, you need to check the box if they want to waive it or accept it. Now, if you know ahead of time they're going to waive it, you can check that box and uncheck, but that's up to you. It's not going to it might make them sign both, and that's a little tricky. I know I have a couple agents that have complained about that, because the other warranty company, you had to check a box. This one, you have to sign. So if you know ahead of time that your buyer is definitely 100% dead set against that home warranty, you can uncheck that and let your buyer sign the waiver that they don't want it. If your buyer isn't sure, check them both. Okay? Affiliated business, again, customer. And then over here on the right, you have your contract for initials and buyer. Okay, so you just want to make sure that each of your forms has a buyer or customer box checked for Jim to be able to sign, and then initial. Yes, it should. You're talking on the home warranty, Tom? Well, let's try it. How's that? And it might not let me because it follows suit. Okay, it worked. If we do undo the waiver, like I said, I've never had anybody ask that, so yes. Because what it did is it automatically checked that buyer signature under default when I did the first one. So as long as we gotta make sure that every one of our forms has buyers or customer, we're gonna scroll down and go next. Okay, home inspection. We must activate. You got to check both of these boxes. And what we're doing when we check them is activating those fields for your buyer to actually check a box. If you don't check these two boxes, it doesn't activate those fields in order for your buyer to check. So if you don't do that, they won't let me check. It won't let me check. If you didn't activate it, it won't let them. So all you're doing is activating those fields for them. If you want your buyer to fill in information on their mailing address, you can check those boxes. Okay, home warranty, this is all just about the property and what kind of property is and programming. There's nothing to really do there. Okay, you can, if you know for sure they're going to get it, you can fill in what kind of coverage they want and everything else. But sometimes for you, it's just as easy to check the box on the form itself. Your customer can do that. And then we just do next. And then this is the email that's going to get sent to your customer that has the link and everything for them to sign electronically. So it's signer's full name is Jim. It's going to come from your app file. And in the two, you can free type an email address and whatever's programmed in your template. See, I have my buyer, title company, buyer two. These are all the users. And if I was an agent, I would be down here as an agent. So buyer email. Again, you can free type as well. You can you do CC on this one? I don't know if it allows you. Nope. Huh, weird. It's a good thing though, Tom. I was kind of looking to see if there was a way to do it here. All right, so in here, we ask that you do not change the verbiage of anything that pops up in the email. Okay, because if you somehow hit an extra and it removes that program for the link to attach, go up in front of your word please and just, let them know, Jim, please check. I know, guys, ignore my typing on this thing. A box on home inspection prior to. Okay, let's put your little note in there. Yeah, it's not going to do. Close enough, guys. All right, so that way Jim knows that he's got to check a box on that home inspection, whether they're accepting or declining the home warranty before he signs. And I know that. I just thought there was a way to do it. I really wanted it to work. So again, here's your email and everything, and type a little note. Hey, if you have any questions, call. Whatever you want to put in there, we just ask that you please don't remove the verbiage from please down. Again, you see my footer automatically attaches. And then we scroll down and next. Make sure that you are checked. It should default to notify you when they have signed. Unless your manager or your ASC has asked you, please do not check us, because then we get 150 million emails for every document that they sign. So unless your ASC or manager is asked, just make sure that you're checked to receive notification and request your signature. When it rolls back out, it shows you have one active signature request. It's telling you your first one went out and went to Jim on this date, this time, how many signatures, how many initials. So say Jim calls you in 20 minutes and says, I didn't get it. Check your spam. If they have Yahoo, Hotmail, AOL, they're older, antiquated programs. Their security protocols aren't always up to snuff with Appfiles because of the security functions of the digital signatures. A lot of times it'll be in their spam. So if they don't have it in their spam, you can resend. Say Jim calls and says, you know what, I want to change some of the price I'm offering. You can cancel the request, go into the document, change the dollar amounts, and redo a request. Okay, so we've done Jim, but now we need to do Kathy. Again, they can use the same email, but we have to do separate requests. We did one to Jim. Now we're going to do one for Kathy. Again, you must type in their name. And if it's a mortgage, you need to make sure that you're putting their name in as the mortgage company. If I was a Kathleen and it was my legal name, it would have to be Kathleen. If it was James, it would need to be James. So, watch that with your mortgage companies. So you'll see buyer signature and customer are all in request for Jim. So it won't let you pick the wrong one. Buyer 2, it'll follow through buyer 2. And then you'll have to check customer 2 under the wire fraud. And then buyer signature on the warranty, that's if they want it. The waiver has already been requested. Only one buyer and or seller has to sign on the waiver side. Okay? Make sure you're still affiliated business. And then on the contract, you want to do buyer initials. Okay? Next. Again, this is already in request. Only one of your customers has to check a box. We requested Jim to do it, so Kathy can't do it. If you want your buyer, fill in their personal, their mailing address or anything, check those boxes. And then the same default with the programming and everything on the home warranty. Next, same email. If you wanted to add a note, you just type in front of the word please, type in your note. Now, if Kathy had a different email address, that's fine. Okay, but we're going to do buyer 2. Same thing, we're going to scroll down and next. Make sure that you're toggled to be notified and request signature. So now you got active signature request 2. One from Jim, one from Kathy. Same thing. If you had to resend or cancel the request, it's all here. If you go here to your edit fields, there's your documents. Nothing's changed because nobody's done anything, and I'm going to close it. Everything saves. When you scroll down and you look, you'll see your contract package that you just emailed or sent out for signatures. It's hard to see, but it's a little pencil in front of it letting you know that it is out for signature. So I'm going to go to my email. All right, this is what Jim's going to get in his email. Okay, that's why we ask you not to change, because that's where that program was. They were going to click the link that's in their email. And this is exactly what your customer's going to see. And when I tell everybody it's easy peasy, it is easy peasy. They have a device and an email address. Anybody can do this. And I don't care if they're 102 years old, they can do this if they have an email address and a device. So I always tell everybody, I don't want to hear your excuses. If they have an email and a device, they can do this. So when they first get it, this is when you were telling Jim, please check a box before you sign. Please fill out before signing. Well, the only document in this whole thing that needs to be filled out is the home inspection. Okay, so he's going to, elect to perform all the inspections. He can check either box he wants. So I always say on something like that, put it at the tippy top so they don't forget, because if they don't see it or don't know where it is, doesn't mean you can't send them another one, but then it's all clean and done the first time. Okay, so all the forms are here. They can look at them on the screen. They can download and print it if they want to. They have the option, but they can, again, see everything right on the screen in front of them. So Jim's ready to sign. He's going to click here to sign. And he can initial 12 separate times or initial all 12 at once. Okay, again, he still can see the documents, but we're going to initial all 12 at the same time. If they did initial next, he would initial 12, all 12 times. So we're going to initial all. He must accept the terms and conditions of electronic signature. He must click that I'm accepting, that I'm initialing. Then we're going to put in initials. He's going to put in whatever he wants. They can do, if they have an iPad or a touch, they can do touch or type. And next. That's what it likes. Just say he doesn't like it. clear retry will take him back a screen. He can pick a different type style or do a touch, but he must accept. And accept. If they don't check the box, it won't let them go. So they must check a box. That's how easy it was to do the initials, guys. Okay, initials completed. Excuse me, guys. I'm so sorry, but they're right there. So next, he's got to sign 6. He wants to sign next or sign them all. Sign them all, unless he wants to sign 6 separate times. He must accept that I'm signing. Full name, again, they can do touch or type. Next, must accept and accept. And when I tell you it's that easy, that's how easy it is. And everybody has to agree it's easy. So he can now download and print it, but Kathy hasn't signed it yet. But it does give him the option to print it and download it. I'm going to go back to my inbox, and we're going to do signature request for me. Again, I'm Kathy. I'm going into my email. Okay, if I look, I can see that Jimmy's already signed. Okay, but I have my options, 12 individually or all 12 at once. You notice Kathy doesn't have that option to please, check it, fill it in before you sign, because Jim filled everything in already. Initial all, they must accept. Accept that I'm initialing in 12. Initials, it doesn't matter, they pick what they want to do. Again, they can do touch or type. Must, almost looks like HH, doesn't it? Anyways, they must accept and accept. So everybody does have to agree that it looks pretty easy, huh? I want to hear some heads rattling or shaking. Okay.
Right.
On the signatures
Easy for
again.
them, right?
Yeah, I don't think it could be any easier.
For us, it's not easy though. For them, it's easy.
Well, but this way I like showing you what your customers see, so you can say, well, all you have to do is click yes, click go. I mean, because it is very easy.
It is.
So
It is.
we got 6 remaining. Sign all 6. They must accept. Again, touch or type. Let's pick something that doesn't look like an H. And they must accept and accept. All done. Okay, so she gets the option, Kathy does the download or print again with that will show both of their signatures and initials on it. You as the agent will receive an email that Jim completed his, and mine should come through on mine, that it was complete. We're going to go back to the app file. Now, Appfiles is live, like right down to the split second. You'll go into your app file, say you just, like me, I had it sitting idle in the background working on something else, and I'm like, well, he told me that, I got an email that it was signed, but the pencil's still there. Because it is live, refresh your page. You see, pencil's gone. Open your contract package, and there's the signatures, the box checked, the initials on the bottom of the pages. I'm just going to jump through to the last pages of the contract. But again, you got your initials on the bottom of each. You have your signatures and everything's there. So everything's signed and done. All your in-house disclosures, everything's done. So now you have an offer that's signed by your buyer, and you want to send that offer to the listing agent. There's 2 ways of doing it, and in order for you to see this whole thing, I have to stop sharing and resharing because I think you get too many windows open. Open your contract package again. You want to split out your as-is contract because all the other documents that are in here are all in-house forms, okay? The only thing that needs to go to the listing agent at this point is the contract, unless you have an FHA addendum that needs to go. So we want to split that contract out. Again, you can split your forms. We want to pull our as-is contract out. Go ahead to the general paperwork and sit in the holding section. Okay. I'm going to close it. Again, everything saves. There is no save button. So here's our as-is contract. You can open the contract and email it, or you can compose an email from here and attach it. So I'm going to show you both, but I have to stop share screen and reshare. I'm moving you guys out of the way. I'm sorry. So if you compose an email from here, which if you guys can see this, I'll be ecstatic. Can you guys see my compose an email? No? All right. Let me stop sharing and I'm gonna reshare. Oh, you can see my email right here? Brenda says yes. Well, cool. Normally you can't. So you compose your email. I'm excited. So I have to do one less thing. You see, when you click on compose an email, you can click here. If you program the listing agent into your template, you can pull them from here. But if you did, if not, you can free type it. Okay, I'm going to send it to myself, but you can free type it. Let's just say it's Leslie@remax.com. You can free type in there. And then the reference pulls off the address. Okay, but add your attachment, and you pick, you want your as-is contract attached. And it's there. See, your footer's still there too. And you can put a little note. Hey, Becky, attached is my offer. Please let me know that you received my offer. Thank you. And then you just click your send. Okay? So I'm sending it to me. Maybe, maybe not. Okay, somebody said, yes, we can see, and then they can't see. So could you guys see my email? And see the attachment?
Could not see the email, just could see where you can compose it from.
Yes, that's what.
That's what I needed to know. So I'll have to redo it. Stop sharing, stop, and all right.
Sorry about.
So I'm going to compose the email again. This time I'm going to stop sharing and reshare. So you can see my compose an email, but you can't see once I start doing the rest. So I'm going to stop share, and I'm going to do a new share. Okay, so you can see my compose an email, correct? Right here? Yep. All right. So again, in the two, you can free type, or if you put the listing agent into your template, you can pull them in. In the middle, you have your add attachment, and it's going to bring up all the documents that you have in your general paperwork or in your file. You just choose which document you want to attach. And finished, and it'll add it right here as an attachment. You type your message to the listing agent, attaches my contract offer on blah, blah, blah. Please let me know that you received it. And sometimes, to the best advice, if you're sending an offer to a listing agent and you've emailed it, text them. Let them know, hey, I just sent you an offer on your property. A lot of times they'll see their text before their emails, but that's up to you how you handle that. It's just a good piece of advice. So anyways, once you fill it in and send your message, you click send message and it goes. I gotta stop share and reshare. So let me get back to my app files. Okay, so now you can see my app file again on 264 Annapolis. Okay. So, and you see everything that we've done, all the emails back and forth under your activity, it's here. All of it here, the signature request that went out. If you view it, it tells you what the email says that we have set up as default going out to your customers. The signature request, and if you say I just sent that email to myself and it's only showing me the first one, again, refresh, it is live. There's my second email to myself with the attached contract. Okay. So you can send it that way, or you can open up your as-is contract, send via email. But email via PDF. We're not doing a signature request. We're doing it as a PDF. Now, you probably can't see this either, but it's the same email that comes up. You just don't have to add the attachment. The attachment's already there because you're sending it from that open contract. Okay. So can you see my compose an email? No. So do you want me to stop screen and reshare? But it's the same exact thing. It just already has the attachment on it. We'll do it one more real quick. Okay. So when you have if you're doing the email request from the actual contract, it comes up, it's already attached because you did send an email from the actual document. Again, you can free type or drill down, type your little message and send. Okay. I'm going to close it. I'm not going to send myself another email. I'm going to be a pro at this one day, you know, sharing screen, stop share, reshare, stop, reshare. I used to have to hunt and peck and look for my right screen, but I don't have to do it anymore. So anyways, again, that's 2 ways to send the contract to the listing agent. And then you just wait. I have a few minutes, about 15 minutes left. Is there any questions on anything I've covered so far? I know this was supposed to be a 201 class, but I had more new agents on, and I appreciate everybody's patience with that. I'm here to help you guys in anything you need. So if you have any questions and anything at all, please ask. You have me for at least another 15 minutes. Don't get all quiet on me now. Okay, well, I can show you, let's say, the listing agent. Her sellers accepted the offer and she sent it back to you and you have it in your email, in your Gmail, whatever your email is. Because even though you sent it from Appfiles, if they can't reply back and that go right back into the app file. Because the Appfiles is programmed to your default email. Because like mine is Gmail, even though everything's CBS MFL, it's going to go to my Gmail account. So if you use Windows or Microsoft is what I want to say. Say you use Outlook, it'll go in there. There's really 3 ways to get paperwork into your app file. I'm going to show you at least one. If we got time, I'll show you more. Let's go. Okay, I'm in my email. And I upload stuff, and I'll show you some funny stuff. Okay, so in your email, this is the contract that the list agent sent back to you. Okay, you can get it in one of 3 ways. You can download it and then upload it in. You can email it in. There's only 2 this way. I'm lying to you. So we're going to go back to the app file because we want to get the contract that's in your email in here because that contract is now signed and executed by the seller. So we need that in this app file. So it's in my email and it's my contract. Now you don't even have to open the email. If you just click the untitled document, and if you're using Google Chrome, which you technically should on most of CB's programs, works better in Chrome, click on the untitled document. Okay, it's a contract. I don't have nothing filled out. This is just a dummy. Click your download. If you have your Google Chrome set up properly, it should download right just above your system tray. Can you guys see that on my screen? Okay, so we go back to your app file on Annapolis. At the top, you have your different functions. We want to upload a file. It's going to open a box. So you drag your files here, grab your untitled document, put it there, and upload. File is uploaded. Now, in Appfiles, however you get that document into your Appfiles is what it creates a holding section. So we've had our general paperwork as our holding. But see, we uploaded something, so now it's in an uploaded section. This is your contract. So if this is the one that's signed by you, your buyers and your sellers, but that's one way to get it in there. Okay, since it's in your email, Every app file, and I didn't do this at the beginning of the class, has its own email address. This is number 1674. The next app file, that's the only thing that changes. Every single email is a number, and each one is, every time one's added, it goes up a number. But this email address, if you copy, click the copy, it'll put a little check mark next to it. Go back to your email program, and this is your contract email. Open your contract email, depending on your email program. So in this case, we're going to forward the email that the listing agent sent us that has the contract in it. We're going to forward. And in the to, if you right click and paste, that what it did was it copied that email address for that app file and put it in your to. Now it doesn't send the whole email into Appfiles. It's only sending the attachment into your app file. So you just right click and paste the to, and then just send. I gotta move you guys out of the way again. Send. And once you send, now it takes a little longer for it to come into the app file when it's emailed. So I'm gonna refresh the screen a few hundred times. I'll have agents come in, print it, and then upload it. And I'm like, well, if it's in your email, why are you printing it and then uploading it? So it's easy peasy. Download, drag and drop, upload, or email it directly from your email into the app file. Okay, so whatever you do, however you're doing it, it's still doing it. Okay, if you, oops, I wanted to refresh, sorry. Okay. This is where I uploaded it into the app file, the one I just did. Now, when it comes in, when you email it, it will create a holding section called email paperwork. It just takes longer for email. There it is. So your emailed paperwork, there's your contract. My advice to you is when it's untitled, rename it. And just put crip offer, whatever you want to name it, so you know what it is. Remember, if you change it, save it, either with the green check mark or your enter. Close it. And then that's it. So since let's say you name this app file by your buyer's name and you put an offer in on, let's say this one is Annapolis, you can put, if this one was rejected, you could do crip offer on Annapolis rejected. Save it. And then say, this is another offer. And this is the good one. You could rename it crip offer, whatever you want to name it. We don't care what you name it. Accepted on 264 Caddy. Whatever you want to name it. Save it. That way, however you know which is the right document. I mean, we can go in as ASCs and pick and choose and try and decide. But if you have 4 or 5 contracts in there that only have buyer initials and they're all for different addresses, we don't know which one is the one you're working on or not working on if you're working in a file. So I like to recommend that when you're working with the paperwork, as you're splitting off and maybe sending things out to them, rename the documents. Because you might want to call one day and need help from your ASC, and then we got to sit with you on the phone and go through 5 different things to figure out which is the right one. So it's just helpful that even for you as well as the company to name your documents as you're splitting them out, and especially with the market right now with the multiple offer situations on multiple properties. That way it's not as confusing. Good, Bree. I'm glad you do. Hope it helps you. Bree's got her meeting for one of her floor call buyers that she got the other day. So she's not really done much in Appfiles yet. All right, so we actually have a couple more minutes. Any other questions on anything? No? Any questions at all? It can be out of the left field, totally opposite of anything I've taught you today, anything you're not sure of, anything you're nervous of. There's a couple things I want to show you, but I want to open up for questions first because you got about 5 minutes left with me. mean, I could do this for 4 or 5 hours as long as you guys were asking questions, but I have other work I have to do. But I enjoy teaching you guys. So we have, let me find the file I can use. Okay. Say this is an active list, your active listing, and the transaction worksheet, as you know, is required part of your checklist, whether it's a listing or a seller, a buyer file or a seller file. So you get an offer on Jade and you accept, your seller accepted it. So you need to finish the transaction worksheet, because on your listing side, all you have is the listing. Now you need to fill in the buyer's information or the contract side. Don't call your ASC, don't email your ASC. Open up your transaction worksheet. Even though it's locked, you can still open it. And you see on this one, because it is a listing, it's got the listing information filled out. Once you open that transaction worksheet, up in the upper right corner is the blue actions button. You click on copy, put it in your general paperwork section, make an exact copy. So you can't, we don't want to unlock transaction worksheets because we have to monitor any changes that are made to them, because we have to follow up on our accounting program. So if you made a change, we need to know about that change so we can make that change in the program we have to enter data into. So, you know, name it, let it go into the general paperwork, make an exact copy. And if you click it.
Kathy, can I interject?
No, not yet. Yes, Miss Heidi.
The reason it's so important, especially for the newbies online, is that we need the correct information so you get paid correctly.
And trust me, we will if you do it enough times. We won't pay you till you make stuff right. Your managers will say, look, you screw it up every time. We got to have it right. I'm joking. I think in 7 years, I think we've only held up 2 closings because the monies were so wrong that we had to figure it out. But the transaction worksheet is very important. That's why when I said at the beginning of class why we put it as the leading form and why we don't want to make copies. Because if you make it or unlock it for you to make adjustments, we need to see what changes you're making from this one to this one. So say you have an addendum on the contract and the purchase price is changed and then title company changed. You need to make another copy of the transaction worksheet, make those changes, and then submit to your ASC, because all of that stuff we have to change in our accounting system. So that's the reason why I say don't ask your ASC to unlock it. You can make a copy. If you're not comfortable making a copy, feel free to ask your ASC, can you please make me a copy of my transaction worksheet? We will be more than happy to do it for you, but Sunstar, I've told asked the ASCs please not to unlock them, but to make them a copy, because we have to track the changes and keep up with them. So your transaction worksheet's still up here, still locked. Here's the new one that you created. So when you open it, see, it's editable. You can type it in. Saved everything from the listing side. Now you can import your values if you filled in the buyer information and the selling information in your template. Once it went under contract, you can import it in. Or you can just free type it. If it's Remax, your selling agent name, commission amount, we're not representing the buyer in this case. We just want to make sure that the commissions are being paid properly on both sides. So, because the co-broke, you got to watch your commissions, but normally, let's say if there was a deal made and it was 3%, let's just say, we're going to pay the higher amount to the co-broke side, okay, because that's just how we do business. If it was a 5%, we were more than likely give the co-broke side the 3%, and we'd only take 2%. So it's important that we know if any adjustments have been made by the commission, that it's noted on both sides. Okay. So if you're doing a flat 6 and it's 3 and 3, this is wrong, by the way. It's 8% total because it's a vacant lot, but so it'd be 4 and 4 each side. But you see, filling in your source of seller. If it's not your buyer, don't worry about it. but we do have to have the buyer's information, at least name. Most of the buyer's agents, if it's not your customer,
I'm almost done.
if it's not your customer, most of the other agents aren't going to want to share email addresses. We don't want it. They're not our customer. We're not here to steal their customers. We need an email address on your customer. So that's just a quick thing. But if you need to make a copy of seller's property disclosure because you forgot to put it on the MLS, same exact thing. Just on a seller's property disclosure, you can't make it editable. Now, this was hand filled out. No, this one wasn't. I'm thinking of another one. I got a sneeze coming, guys. But you can make a copy of the seller's property disclosure to send to the buyer's agent for their buyers to sign. You want it, something like that, you would want to make non-editable because you don't want, it shouldn't, if you make it editable, it's going to remove those signatures, okay? Because it will remove all signatures and initials. We don't want that to happen. But you're making a copy to send to the list or the selling agent if you forgot to put it on your MLS. I'd have to remember to remove all this stuff or Cheryl will be freaking out. What is she doing in my files? Okay, so there is a copy. I'm going to refresh just to make sure it stays there. Okay, and there's the seller's property disclosure that you can email directly from here to the selling agent. And then she can do what she has to do with her buyers to send it back to us. We have to have copies of the seller's property disclosure. These are a couple little tidbit things here and there. It's not required by Florida law that the sellers fill out a form, but they are required to disclose. Our E&O carrier requires us to have seller's property disclosures. If your sellers refuse, it needs to be documented in an email and uploaded into the app file. If you have a vacant lot or a trust where the kids are now have the house and they have nothing, all they have to do on the seller's property disclosure is no knowledge and then sign it. Okay, we just have to have documentation that we asked and something that they signed. So if you asked them in an email and they say, I don't have one or I won't do one, you can upload that email into the app file. Okay. So now I got to fix this stuff so I can leave them there. Cheryl can use them when she gets a contract. Okay. All right. It's 11:30, 11:29. Any other questions? No. I'm going to stop sharing so then I can see everybody. Well, of course, Heidi's right there. Randy, I didn't even know you were on there, Randy. I know I let you in, but I didn't hear from you. You're being quiet today.
It's just been busy.
I get it. I'm glad you got a chance to jump on.
Where
Great.
will we be able to watch this recording?
We're still waiting. If anywhere, it would be in the career development tile in Schmidt resources. But as of, I don't know about later today, but as of yesterday, they still hadn't posted any of the videos but one from back in June.
Okay.
So,
All righty. Thank you.
but look for them in the career development square in Schmidt resources, and when they get them uploaded, they'll be in there. I've had several since June, and so they might upload a bunch of them. So there should be a bunch of 101s and 201s. I'm not sure who your ASC is, but your ASC is also a very good resource. Don't be afraid or intimidated. Every office is a little bit different, but in my office, when I get new agents, I sit with them one-on-one. If it takes 2 hours, it takes 2 hours. I walk them from beginning to end, how to create, tell them to set up a test file. I always encourage that from my ASCs, try to do as much as you can one-on-one with new agents so they're not scared to death and petrified of the program. I always tell everybody, you can't screw it up. There's nothing you can do to break it, screw it up, nothing.
Thank
Okay?
you.
So don't be afraid of it. But your ASCs and your sales managers are great resources if you need help with the program. All right. We're all done. Anybody have anything else? No. Great. Well, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to go to the ladies' room. I've been sitting here for over 2 hours. I'm going to stop the recording because everybody does.